Hi, I'm Allison Toy with the UC Davis Tahoe Environmental Research Center, and we're about ready to go on a wildflower hike. So let's get going and see what we find. I love spotting this wildflower because even though I don't see a flower, I know what it is. It's a very distinctive plant, narrowly pushing through the sediment. Eventually it'll spread out and open up. You can see some over there. We know in this location of this wet, meadowy area, this is a corn lily. And the reason why I like spotting the corn lily is because it's a distinctly mid-season plant. So I know because it's still in its shoot stage that we're in the early season. And when they're actually fully open and I see the dozens of white inflorescences, then I'll know we're in mid-season. Okay. So it's really important when you're hiking and looking for wildflowers to practice your observation skills, because if you're not looking carefully, you can miss awesome flowers like this violet here. Contrary to its name, the violet is not always purple. This is clearly a yellow violet, and you can see its linear markings there in the center, or its honey guides telling the pollinators where to go, because pollinators see with their compound eyes far beyond the visible light spectrum that we can see. So the question is, knowing that there are two yellow violets that look very similar with very similar leaf patterns, which one are we looking at? Location can sometimes help because it's a stream violet versus a mountain violet, but with this particular one, I'm going to be taking a look at the leaf shapes, which are much hardier, and dark green, which indicates a mountain violet. Based on our proximity to a stream, as well as the fleshiness of these larger leaves, I would say that this is a stream violet. So we're gonna stop right here because I have seen a very common flower that we see in the Tahoe Basin. And so once you learn to identify this one, you can identify about 13 species in Lake Tahoe. Granted, you won't be able to maybe say the species, but you can very easily say what the genus is. So let's take in and get a closer look. So just by looking at the leaf shape, we can figure out what kind of plant this is. It has this palmate compound leaf, compound meaning that it comes out of one singular point, and palmate, think palm. Once you remember something like that, you can always identify a lupin. And that's the genus name. And so you may not be able to say what the species is, but you can always say that this is a lupin. It's folded, it's called center folded, so it always has this crease on the inside. Very, very distinctive leaf. And most of the species in Tahoe have this gorgeous purple inflorescence, which means just a cluster of flowers. There are over 100 species of lupin in the state of California, and I don't even know how many there are in the world. So just by knowing how to identify the leaf shape, you'll be able to identify many species on your hikes all around the world. I'm gonna stop here because once again, I found this great example about how leaf shape can help you define what plant you're looking at. So let's take a close look at this one. Even without the flowers, when I look at the leaves, I think about parsley and I think about carrots. And funnily enough, it is in the carrot and parsley family, the Apiaceae. So when I first came out here a few days ago, there weren't any flowers. And so I was having a hard time identifying it, but then I took into account the location. So it was either going to be a Cymopterus or it was going to be a fern leaf lomatium. But once again, location, fernleaf lomatium is found at a lower elevation below 8,000 feet, which is where we're at. The Cymopterus is actually found at a much higher elevation and has been seen up at the summit of Friel Peak, which is the tallest peak in Lake Tahoe, over 10,000 feet in elevation. I'm going to look at these plants that are very common in Tahoe that often get mistaken for each other, but you can easily tell the difference by looking at their leaves. Everybody has heard of the woolly mule's ear. And you can see that its leaves are mule-shaped, which is how it got its name. And it's also a little fuzzy. So the leaves taper like this. It's also a mid-season plant, so it's not flowering quite yet, although we do have a flower just starting to bud right there. But next to it, we have its little look-alike, which is already flowering, and it is an early season plant, and this is the arrowleaf balsam root. And you can see, once again, it's getting its name by its cordate leaf shape or arrow-like shape. I'm gonna stop here because we just found a really cool plant right here. That's a great example about how color can also help you identify wildflowers. So let's get in and take a closer look at this alien species that we have here. What color would you say these sepals are on the outside and the bracts? Perhaps you might say that the petals are red. Maybe you might say it's maroon. And so for me, I think maroon is red plus brown. And what do you know? This is a Brown's peony. So here's the thing. In California, we have two species of peonies that look really similar. So if you look up a picture of a California peony, it looks just like this. So one of the other things to think about is location when you're identifying your plants. So California peonies are generally found in Southern California, while our Brown's peony are found in Northern California and all the way up through Washington. You can use the shape of the flower to help you identify, and sometimes the name is also indicative of the shape of the flower. So this is a shooting star, and maybe you can't quite tell from that angle, but if you look down in this direction, you can see that the shape of that one on the left, right here, looks like a falling star. And we're in the wet, meadowy area, which is where shooting stars are known to be found. And not too far away from it, we have a camas lily. We see these fairly often in the Tahoe area. So we've seen a lot of plants during this hike, and I've talked about a lot of different factors that can help you with your identification. For example, timing, as well as the location, right? I mentioned this, we're fairly close to a stream, we're in a wet, meadowy area. We can also look at things like leaf shape, like remember that palmate, compound leaf of a lupin, or the shape of a flower like the shooting star that looks like a falling star. What else did I talk about? The color, right? The Brown's peony. So these are all great methods that can help you identify more plants. For me, I just practice a lot, and that's going to be key for anybody who wants to get really good at identifying wildflowers. You can also download the iNaturalist app, and be sure to follow Citizen Science Tahoe so that any observations that you make in the Tahoe Basin get placed in the singular database that's accessible to anybody doing research in the Tahoe area. So that's it for our little wildflower walk, and make sure you keep your eyes peeled for the beautiful colors in spring.